What is up, YouTube? Today we're going to go over 5 characters that you should be playing in Deadlock right now to climb the ranks, along with the builds that I think are very, very good right now. Now, this is of April 20th or 4/20, so if you're watching this in the future, you know, things may have changed. Maybe there was a patch that like kind of shook things up a lot. But in general, if you guys are interested in me doing these types of videos often for different patches, just to show you guys what's like kind of in the meta, then, you know, I'd be down to do that. So like I said, I'm going to try to explain the builds, why we're going what we're going, why they're good right now. But keep in mind, these are not my builds. These are builds from some of the top players, even some pro players. But there is a reason these builds are doing well right now. And I think no matter who you are, it's always good to look at better builds and just kind of analyze like what makes this a good build, why is it doing well in the meta, it's that kind of thing. So 5 characters, 5 builds with their IDs. Let's get into it. Okay, so first up we have Bebop, specifically Erebus's Gun Bebop build. Gun Bebop is very, very good right now, and I'll talk about why in a second. However, Erebus ran this in the recent DNS tourney, which is like the weekly competitive tournament, and he absolutely fried with it. Here's his build ID, 414980. So Bebop's kit has gotten a lot of changes lately that have kind of supplemented this playstyle. So for one, in a recent patch, Bebop's wind-up time for his laser got reduced. So basically, you can just start shooting faster now, which is very, very good. Number 2 is Uppercut has always kind of had this this benefit where you get fast spin up time, you get weapon range and extra % weapon damage. But now also when you grapple somebody or hook them in, you're getting 20% weapon damage against that victim for 6 seconds, which is a long time. Combined with the fact that when your bomb is maxed, you're also getting 20% movement speed and fire rate. So 3 of your abilities are kind of supplementing this playstyle already. So that has a lot to do with it, but he's also really good with a lot of the meta items right now, including slowing bullets. It's very, very hard to get away from a Bebop who has slowing bullets, which will turn into weighted shots. Also, Headhunter and Headshot Booster. Not only does Bebop have so many individual bullets, I mean, I know it's a laser, but one of those individual ticks, I guess, of the laser is bound to hit their head. But Bebop also has a lot of CC, so if I end up hitting my grapple, they're going to be right in front of me and I can easily headshot them because they're going to be standing still. And the same thing with the uppercut, just free headshot. So it's a lot of good sustain. And along that note, Fortitude is also very good sustain, a very good item in the meta right now because it allows you to just kind of permanently stay on the map. And Bebop really wants that because he wants to run around, gank people, you know, start snowballing with his hooks. Then we build into a bit of fire rate and movement speed, which is very good for Bebop, again, for roaming around the map. Fleet Foot so we can further chase people down. And because we already have so much % weapon damage in our kit and with some of the items that we're going, getting an item like Hunter's Aura, which is going to lower their bullet resist, is really going to multiply our damage. Because when you combine Shred with % weapon damage, good things happen. Also with Enduring Speed, we're kind of going this as well to counteract the weighted shots, which is reducing our movement speed. So it kind of balances out. And then from there, we're just going really good items in the meta right now. Vampiric Burst is one of the quintessential weapon items that you want to go. Burst Fire, when we pull somebody in, we're going to proc our Burst Fire and absolutely slam them. And then from there, you can kind of build what you need for that game. Say you need to be a little bit tankier or they have a lot of spirit characters, you can go something like Silencer. Or along that same note, you want to be a little bit tankier, you can maybe, you know, go in earlier Siphon Bullets. Or say they have a lot of healing, you can go in like an early inhibitor so you can reduce that. But for the most part, you can build left to right and you'll be feeling good as well. Of course, in the mid game, if you really need it, consider some of these green items, these counter items like Dispel Magic, Counter Spell, Spirit Resist. You might need it in a lot of games, so don't forget those. So yeah, guys, try Erebus's Gun Bebop build. I promise you'll fry with it as long as you're hitting your shots and you're tracking them well. You would definitely be surprised by how much damage this build ends up doing. Okay, guys, next up we have Infernus, specifically Dash Infernus, and I like to use Basil's Dash build. His build is 393668. Infernus has had a few changes lately that really help with this. One, his ult has gotten buffed recently, and of course with his ult, you kind of want to be in the middle of everybody, and that makes perfect sense for the Dash build because you want to be able to dash in and be really aggressive. They also made some tweaks to his dash. One thing that I think is really good is now you just need 1 point in the dash to get the lower cooldown, so you can basically dash every single wave in lane. Also right now, a lot of the camps are really squishy. Like you can literally just dash a tier 2 camp and your dash alone will one-shot it. Every Infernus ability is pretty good, but also remember that we have 2 charge abilities because once our 2 is max, we're going to have charges on our dash, and then we also have charges on our 1. So we get a lot of value out of rapid recharge. So yeah, guys, you basically always have a dash up with Infernus with this build, which makes you really hard to gank. It allows you to be super aggressive. It allows you to basically cut off like entire areas of the map because your dash can cover so much. So guys, it starts off really simple. We just go Extra Spirit, Improve Spirit, just for that dash damage and for the afterburn damage in the laning phase. Also, if you want, you could go like a monster round just so you can clear a little bit better. You know, also can help you clear the jungle more. And then we're going to rush our green investment because we need to hold out until our dash is max because we need our dash max to actually get the ability to have charges on it. So we're trying to hold out until then so then we can buy rapid recharge. And once we get rapid recharge, we now have our spirit invest and our greed invest. And these greed items are just good in the meta, but they're also very good for Infernus because we're going to heal a lot. And it's very hard to deal with an Infernus who's constantly healing and constantly dashing. And now you can come down here and generally build left to right, superior duration, so our dash lasts a long time. Same with afterburn, it's going to help with that. Mystic Bone, which is going to turn to escalating exposure, so we get some shred, and it's also going to proc constantly on the dash and afterburn if we proc that. But it's also just denying a lot of area because they end up sitting in that dash. They're going to take so much damage. Now, as Dash Infernus, because we're going to be super aggressive, we want to be kind of tanky. We want to be able to survive when we dash in and not get insta blown up. So we do want a few of these green items up here, depending on the game. I go Warp Stone every game as Dash Infernus because you can use it during your dash. So if people try to get like verticality to get away from the snail trail, you can just Warp Stone to chase them in the middle of your dash can keep going. And the bullet resist when you warp stone in is also very good for dash and furnace, so they won't blow you up. And then, you know, of course, just build for the game. If they have a lot of gun characters, metal skin could be very good. If they have a lot of debuff characters or a lot of slowing hexes, which they probably will have a lot of because you're going dash and furnace, then you can go dispel magic. You know, you guys get the point. Use your brain a little bit there. And then from there, we get into the late game. We just go infuser because we can pop that before we go into our dash, hit a lot of people with that. We're going to heal a lot and also do a lot of damage. Of course, like I said, escalating exposure. Unstoppable, so we can actually get our dashes off, and especially around mid boss, if we have unstoppable plus Inferno Assault, we're very good at stealing rejuves or contesting. And then from there, we go balance because it's like the quintessential damage item. It's going to help a lot with everything that we're trying to do. And then if we get to that point, it's really, really late in the game. You can go stuff like Spellbreaker, Plated Armor, because you're going to be doing enough damage at this point. You just want to be tankier, survivable. So yeah, I recommend trying out Basil's build. It's a ton of fun, and you can also win with it. Next up, we have a character who is an absolute menace right now, and one of the major reasons for that is the character was already doing pretty good, and then in the most recent patch, she got buffed again, and that's Viper. Viper is super strong right now if you're building her full gun, full carry, full greed, just farming out the entire map and building a lot of the items that we're about to talk about. So yeah, guys, the build that we're going to be looking at is T-Bird's build. T-Bird is a Viper main in Eternus. He's very good at this character. The build ID is 375067. Make sure we're maxing our Slither first. That is very good for this gun build. Now in the past, I think a lot of people like to go at least a bit of Spirit in the early game for Viper to at least like maybe get the Spirit investment because it helped out our lane a lot. But in reality, her lane is already so good that you should just greed and start getting these gun items ASAP. Some of those items are close quarters, for example, because we're going to be close range a lot of time. We're definitely going to get this weapon damage in the majority of time that we're on somebody. Now we combine extra Spirit with opening rounds. That's 20 Spirit power right there for an item that we would want to go anyway with these 45% weapon damage when we go on people. And then we go split shot, and there's a few reasons for this. One, Viper's gun is kind of inaccurate, so you know, if you're a little bit farther away, you can pop your split shot and you'll definitely hit them. Also, as we like scale into the mid to late game, if you pop your split shot in a team fight and there's a lot of people grouped up, you can hit multiple of them at the same time because the spread is kind of crazy on it. And this will be good for proccing your lethal venom on multiple people. But also if you buy some of these debuff items, you know, spreading that to multiple people can be very good with split shot. And of course, it's always good for farming. You can one shot a tier 2 camp, just pop split shot, do a dash slide, and you'll melt it. So fire rate and burst fire in general are going to be very good for Viper because we're going to extend our mag quite a bit when we're sliding around. And then for that same reason, intensifying mag will help a lot with that, increase our damage quite a bit. And then from there, we just get our green invest with bullet lifesteal, stamina mastery. Bullet lifesteal, obviously, going to scale really well with a weapon build, and we're going to build that into vampiric burst, which is a very good item. Stamina mastery, so we can extend our mag even more because our fire rate is really high and our mag size is pretty low. So then we just use stamina mastery to dash slide, you know, get infinite ammo while we're sliding around. Now it does say get your greens earlier if needed, and what this means, and this is just a good general rule of thumb, if you're ever struggling in the early to mid game, get your green invest so you can get some extra HP and you won't feed as hard. As always in that mid game, if you need some counter items like dispel, counterspell, then you should get it at that point. Then we scale into the mid to late game, we go merc mag, spiritual overflow. You can't go unstoppable. If you don't need it in that game, you can come down here and build some of these items like capacitor so people can't get away. I personally like ricochet a lot on Viper. I think it helps a ton with farming in that late game, and again, it will spread out this lethal venom and maybe some debuff items that we're buying. Quicksilver reload isn't as worth it, and part of the reason for that is we're buying merc mag because a lot of people buy metal skin, and that can kind of counter it a little bit. End up doing a decent amount of spirit damage with those procs, even if they proc the metal skin. But yeah, guys, from there, it's pretty simple. If they're tanky and healing a lot, crippling, a lot of spirit characters are slowing the silencer. Not much more to it than that. This character is insane right now. Try out T-Bird's build, and I promise, as long as you're farming well, hitting your shots, and extending your mag with your dash slides, and just kind of running at people once you get a lot of these greed items online, you are going to one-shot people. Up next, guys, we have Abram, specifically with a build focused around his Siphon Life, his one. The melee build and the gun build has gotten nerfed quite a bit on Abrams. It's still like viable, but it's not going to win you a ton of games. However, this build, in particular, Low Main's Abrams build, which he actually used in the DNS in the recent week, again, another competitive weekly tournament. He absolutely fried with this build. Build ID 587369. So yeah, the build's going to be focused around abusing Siphon Life. Like I said, melee and gun build isn't as good anymore. However, Siphon Life has actually gotten some recent buffs. And one of those recent buffs is now when you click your one, Siphon Life, it'll hit everyone in this AoE. So it just hits everybody in the AoE, no matter how many targets there are. And not only is this going to heal you for a time, but it ends up doing so much damage in the mid to later stages of the game. So you guys, here's the build. Let's explain the items. So we go extra regen in most of our lanes of Abrams because he's a very easy character to hit. He has a big hitbox. So you're going to get poked a lot. Also, you're going to run up and like melee a lot of minions and stuff. So you're going to be out in the open. You know, you're going to take a lot of trades. So regen will help a lot with that. So then we go to Arcane Surge so that we can dash up and extend the duration of Siphon Life. We're going to go duration extender later on in the game. But this is like a nice early game pseudo duration extender, but it also, of course, increases the size and it gives us some spirit power in that ability, which again, we're building all around that, so it's going to help a lot. We go into Cold Front. We're getting 3 tier 2s here for the spirit. That'll give us our spirit investment. Cold Front specifically keeps them closer to us. Good burst damage when we dash on them with our Siphon Life going, then we proc Cold Front, just a lot of damage. But what it's also doing is giving us 6% spirit resist. And as you'll notice as we go through these items, a lot of these items just have spirit resist tacked on. So because so many of these offensive items also have spirit resist on it, so Mystic Vuln, 8% spirit resist, Resto Locket, 10% spirit resist. When you proc Spirit Snatch, you're stealing 12% spirit resist for 10 seconds. What ends up happening is it turns this build into a very good bruiser build where we're doing a lot of damage while also being super tanky, at least as far as spirit damage in the early to mid game, which is probably what you're going to have to worry about most. So yeah, these items become super synergistic. Mystic Foam, because we easily are going to proc that with our Siphon Life on multiple targets, but that's also going to turn into escalating exposure, which we're going to keep people CC'd in our one, and it's going to escalate a lot and do a ton of damage later on in the game. Torment Pulse for that same reason, super synergistic with everything I've already talked about, plus Warpstone, that will give us bullet resist from the early to mid game. And of course, Warpstone on Abrams is super good. You can Warpstone in, dash somebody into a wall instantly, like really initiate fights that way. Of course, this will also get us our green invest with Resto Locket Warpstone. That's 4,800 spent right there. And I already talked about the spirit resist on Resto Locket, but it's also just a really good item in the meta right now. People are using. It's gotten buffs recently. This is also like a pseudo stamina mastery item because if you proc it consistently, on its cooldown of 20 seconds, you can get a lot of stamina back from it. And whether you're engaging or trying to run away from people, they're not going to expect you to get that stamina back, and you can get away a lot of the time. Plus, it heals you, of course. I already talked a bit about Spirit Snatch, but we're getting guaranteed heavy melees off of our dash once it's got 2 points into it, which is the second ability we're going to max. We're going to max our 1 first and then our 2. We go compress cooldown because we've all in our build on our 1, and we need that to be up as often as possible. When our 1 is down, we're really not that great of a character. When our 1 is up, we become Thanos. Duration Extender, which will turn into Superior Duration, obviously good for, the length of our stun on our 2 and our ult, but most importantly, it's going to, extend the duration of Siphon Life, which is really, really good. So along that Spirit Resist note from before, you do want to grab a couple of these green items so that you can survive in that early to mid game when you initiate and are in the middle of everybody. It'll make you very hard to kill, especially something like Enchanter's Emblem, which again is another offensive item, but it's giving us 18% spirit resist. So we're both capable of doing a ton of damage while also being super tanky. And then from there, guys, it's just a lot of upgrading of the items that we already had, except for Witchmail, but that's just a really good item in the meta, especially on these bruiser characters where you want to be able to spam your cooldowns, and the more often you spam them, the more often you get your 1-up, the more useful you're going to be. And then Balance is our quintessential damage item on our spirit character, so we're getting that basically every single game. And then you can come down here and consider some different items based on each game. I think E-Shift to buy time and get some of your cooldowns back is super good personally. And then it's pretty simple. Plated if they have a lot of gun characters that are owning you. Divine Barrier specifically for stuff like Pocket or really strong debuff ultimate characters. Spellbreaker if it's spirit damage that's blowing you up. So yeah, guys, nothing too crazy with the build, but it's a very, very strong build. One thing to note is that unlike the melee build, you kind of need a lot of souls for this build to be very good. So make sure you're farming, staying on top of that. But yeah, guys, you'll be very tanky yet powerful with this build. So don't be afraid to get in there and, cause some havoc. Okay, guys, and the fifth and last character that you should be playing right now to climb the ranks is Yamato. And now the reason for Yamato being in this is very straightforward and very simple. There was a recent change to Yamato grapple. Now at rank 2, it gives you 40 spirit power on cast for 6 seconds. Also at rank 2, you get plus 20 meter cast range, which you can use from really far away. You can fly at people through walls because breaking line of sight does not break the ability. But like I said, 40 spirit power for 6 seconds when you can have this in the early game is absolutely insane. To put this in perspective, the best damage spirit item in the game, which is a tier 4, 6,400 souls, has 30 spirit power. So you get 10 more spirit power base from this ability being rank 2. So yeah, guys, once you get 2 points into your grapple, you become very, very strong. And the build that we're going to use that I recommend is Together's build. Build ID is 347414. Now, I think it's going to be very simple and straightforward for you because all of this is going to synergize really well with grapple, starting with melee lifesteal and spirit strike. Because grapple procs melee items, we're going to get healing back, and we're also going to be stealing spirit resist and doing extra damage with spirit strike, guaranteed. Now, speaking of guarantees, Stalker, Mystic Shot, Cold Front, all this is going to scale really well with just base spirit power. And all of these are going to be basically guaranteed by using our grapple on somebody. We're going to be close range, Stalker will proc. We're going to be close range. We can right click Mystic Shot, proc on them. We're going to be right on top of them. We can just Cold Front. All this burst is insane combined with that 40 spirit power that we're getting in the early game. And it just continues on with extra spirit and improved spirit, quintessential damage items for spirit characters. That's going to be fine. Soul Shredder bullets because we want a bit of utility. That's also going to increase our damage quite a bit because we're lowering their spirit resist. Then we're getting all that flat power from our 2. Also is going to help us heal. Then we go into our green vest with Resto Locket. I talked about it in the previous builds, but it's very good in the meta right now and no exception for Yamato. Dispel magic because a lot of people like to build Silence Wave against Yamato so you can't get their ult off, so we can dispel that. But you don't always need Dispel magic. You can obviously replace this with other tier 3 green items like Spirit Resist or Counterspell, stuff like that. And then from there, guys, it should be pretty simple. We should have gotten a lot of kills with this build in the early game because of how strong the grapple is, and we can just chase people down. That's going to kind of help our greed build here, where we're just going full spirit, full damage. Along this road, just a lot of upgrades, Spirit Snatch. We need cooldown so we can spam. Tank Buster, upgrading for Mystic Burst. Boundless from extra spirit or improved spirit. And then Spirit Burn so that we can do even more damage and make sure that we're actually, killing them with the anti-heal from Spirit Burn. Mystic Reverb, a very good Yamato item. We're going to put this on our 1, our Power Slash. It's going to do a lot of extra damage, plus give us a lot of healing. And then nothing too crazy from there. there, a lot of upgrades from items that we already have, and also some items I already talked about in other builds, so don't want to go over it. One thing I will say is I personally like to get a few greens in that mid game as Yamato, just so I can run at people, so I'll probably get a reactive, I'll probably have a heal bane, stuff like that, so I can just stay out on the map a lot longer and be harder to deal with. But yeah, guys, I really think it's as simple as the fact that this level 2 ability is insane right now. 40 spirit power, and the fact that you can just cast it from so far away and not really have to think, and it will find them. It's just pretty insane. So yeah, try out Together's build. I think you'll fry with it, and make sure you're putting 2 points in your 2. And get in there and carry some games as Yamato. Anyway, that is it, guys. Let me know if you want to see me do more of this in the future, where we go over builds and talk about the meta. Also, let me know what you're having success with and what you're climbing the ranks in Deadlock with right now. Anyway, that's it, guys. Stay safe and healthy as always. Peace out.